So long time ago, before there were human people, there were animal people and water people and air people. And the spirit chief of these people knew that change was coming. And so he called them all together from all around the world to his dwelling and said, the two-legged people are on their way. And before they get here, each of you needs to claim your name and decide how you're going to be once these two-legged people join us. So tomorrow morning at dawn, I want you to come back here and tell me what your name will be. And the first one that gets here is going to get the most powerful arrow. Everyone will get an arrow, but the most powerful arrow will get to the first one, will go to the first one who arrives tomorrow morning. So the coyote, not liking his name of Coyote, decided, I'm going to be there tomorrow at dawn, and he's telling everyone, I'm going to be there tomorrow at dawn, and I'm going to be the grizzly bear because the grizzly bear is the most powerful, and I want that long arrow, that powerful arrow. And the fox said, you're never going to stay awake. You're never going to get up early enough to get that arrow. You're never going to be there at dawn. He goes, oh yes, I'm going to stay up all night so I'm the first one there. And so he went back to his campfire and was staying awake and listening to the owls and the frogs, and the longer he stayed awake, the heavier his eyelids got, and so he got 2 sticks to prop them open. And he fell asleep anyway. And he woke in the morning, and the sun was bright, and he went to the spirit chief's dwelling and said, there was nobody there. And he said, I'm first, great. I want to be grizzly bear because grizzly bear is the most powerful. And the spirit chief said, I'm sorry, grizzly bear was here at the crack of dawn. Grizzly bear is taken. The name grizzly bear is taken. He said, okay, well, I want to be eagle and be the most powerful of all the flying people. And he said, Eagle came and took Eagle's name, and Eagle flew away when the sun was still red in the sky. Okay, I'll be the salmon, and I'll be the most powerful of the water people. And he said, salmon swam off way earlier than you. And Coyote said, well, what's left? And the spirit chief said, Coyote. Nobody wanted to be the coyote. You get to be the coyote. And he said, but I don't want to be the coyote. The coyote is the trickster, and I don't want to be the trickster. And the spirit chief said, but you have to be the coyote in this life. Because as a coyote, as a trickster, you're going to teach people a lot of stuff that they need to learn. Those two-legged people need to learn from you. They need to learn how to gather wood, and they need to learn how to fight off monsters, and they need to learn from you. And when you die, you can come back as something else. But in this life, you're going to be the coyote. And the coyote thought about it for a moment and said, well, let's see what mischief I can get up to. And so the coyote stayed the coyote. I share this. This is a Native American sacred story from British Columbia, I guess. Native American, yes, North American. And I share that with you because today is our white stone ceremony where we pick a new name. And so often we look at these names or look at our names and the qualities that we associate with ourselves, and sometimes we don't like what we see. Like the coyote, we want to be something else. I want to be her or him or just like that person, instead of appreciating and loving who we are. This week, knowing that we were picking a name for our white stone, I was thinking about, well, what am I going to put on my stone this week? And as often happens, I start thinking about all the things I don't like about myself instead of the qualities that I want to call forth. And so I started thinking, well, I should be a better minister. I should write down friend because I don't have enough friends in my life. Or I should be more outgoing so that I'm more comfortable talking in large groups of people. Or, comparing myself to my husband, who's very extroverted and very outgoing. And I don't want to diminish his light in any way. But I was comparing myself, and that never serves us to compare ourselves to someone else. We need to come from who we are. The white stone is never about writing a name of something that you're not. I can work on the traits of being more outgoing, but I will never be an extrovert. It's just not in my DNA. I'm not stimulated in that way. So with the white stone, we want to be all we can be, not what we think we should be or what we should do. There's no shoulds in this. If there's shoulds going on, better know that it's your ego speaking and not your divine higher self trying to express more of who you are. So with the stone, with the name, it's about being all we can be. Expressing those qualities that are already innately in us, all those qualities of spirit that we possess, but maybe we're not expressing them. Maybe there's an area of our life that we would like to bring forth something else, to be more fully holy. But we have doubts about ourselves, often. Many of us do. We were watching a movie this week called The Two Popes on Netflix. And if you haven't seen it, it's really good. I really recommend it. And it's based on a true story of Pope Benedict, who was a previous pope to Pope Francis, and Jorge Bergoglio. I don't know if I said that right, who is now Pope Francis. And they meet up. Pope Francis, before he was Pope Francis, was a cardinal in Argentina, and he was feeling like it was time for him to retire. And he needed the Pope Benedict's approval, authority, signature on his retirement papers. So he went to the Vatican to spend time with Pope Benedict. And Benedict says, as they're talking, that he feels like it's time for him to resign, that he's grown weary. Things are changing. And so he puts off Jorge many times. He never signs the paper. He just keeps putting it off, and they have more and more conversations. And Jorge says, in Argentina, and he's reflecting on his life, in Argentina, when we know we're in our ego, it's like we're on a cliff. And all we have to do is jump off the cliff to release the ego. The ego wants, the ego desires, the judgment that we have of ourselves. And so through the movie, you see many times as he's talking about his life, you see him flash to himself being on a cliff. It's really powerful that somebody like that has doubts, has doubt about himself. Pope Benedict even says, maybe you could be the next pope. And Jorge's, oh, not me. And he sees himself on this cliff, this ego, this struggle that he has constantly with these doubts, as we all do. We're often not comfortable as something new is calling to us. Ed Townley is a Unity minister who's extraordinary at metaphysical interpretation. He says this in Kingdom Come: we aren't here in human form to be comfortable. We're here to be creative, to make the challenging choices that will bring the new dimension of spiritual consciousness, the kingdom of heaven, into expression. The kingdom of heaven is the Christ consciousness that we can choose to live from, this Christ consciousness. And so often we don't. This comes from Kingdom Come, which is a great interpretation of the book of Revelation. We had Christmas Eve here, making room in the inn, making room in your consciousness for this emerging, for a new awareness, for the birth of the new awareness. And then we last week had our burning bowl, which is releasing those things that no longer serve us. So we become aware of what's no longer serves us, and then we can release it. And then today is the white stone where we set an intention for the year. And this ceremony starts or comes from the book of Revelation. Now you might be thinking, oh, the book of Revelation, have you read that? It's a lot of doom and gloom. But why would a book or a set of books, the Bible, which are about God's message of love, end with a chapter or a book, the book of Revelation, that is about doom and gloom in the end of the world? So it wouldn't. So we need to look at the book of Revelation like we look at all the rest of scriptures. In Unity, we look at it metaphysically. And metaphysically, the book of Revelation is about the cycles in our lives. We all have cycles in our lives going on all the time. We're always in some phase of a cycle. It's about the hero's journey. It's about knowing or having an awareness of something, going and fighting those demons, which are in consciousness, freeing ourselves from those demons or those judgments or fears or whatever's going on in our minds, and then coming and sharing it. That whole hero's journey is what the book of Revelation is all about. It's a beautiful book when we look at it metaphysically. Ed Townley says this, which he's got a book called Kingdom Come, which is all about the book of Revelation and his metaphysical interpretation of it. He says, the new consciousness that Jesus describes as the kingdom of heaven does not lie in some distant dimension or at some future time. It will express in our lives when we make that choice, when we allow ourselves to be the channels through which God, as divine creative energy, flows into this world to transform it. The kingdom will express in whatever now moment we choose to believe in it, believe in ourselves, and make the creative choice to bring it into being. It's about the now. It's about choosing again and choosing again and choosing again to embody or to express as whatever quality is longing to come forth through us, as us. 2020, we have a new decade. We have a new year. There's something about a new year, a Monday, a first of the month, that we like to start things. And so it's a new decade. We get to go back to zero. Back to a new decade, a way of looking at things. And it doesn't mean because we're going back to zero and starting over that, it's a total reboot. We bring all of our experiences, we bring all of our wisdom that we've gained, hopefully. We bring all of our memories with us, and we start anew from that place. Not from zero, but from a new zero. We can stand on the top of a mountain and we can see 2020 all laid out before us, and we see lots of peaks and valleys. Because life has peaks and valleys. And sometimes we can stand on that mountain and we can say, oh God, I wish somebody would level that for me. Nobody's going to level it for you. We need to learn to appreciate each experience and what it's come to teach us. All those peaks and valleys throughout the year, whatever they are for each of us, is there to teach us something. It's there to bless us. It's there to give us an experience, to help us grow, to come into a greater spiritual awareness of what we really are. And so we go to the book of Revelation for this white stone ceremony. And before I go any further, I just want to make sure everybody has a white stone. Does everyone have a white stone? And if you don't, you can raise your hand and the ushers will come forward. There's a couple, one back here, one over here. Keep your hand up till the ushers get to you. Over here, Sue. 3. And make sure there's a Sharpie someplace close by on your row. We don't have enough Sharpies for everyone, but okay. So This white stone ceremony comes from the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 17. It says, "Let anyone who has an ear to listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. To everyone who conquers, I will give some of the hidden manna, and I will give a white stone. And on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it." Now let's leave that up for a bit, Marilyn. So we need to look at, we just read that and go, what? We need to look at it metaphysically like we like to do in Unity. So let anyone who has an ear to listen. Ear, metaphysically, means, are we receptive? Are we open and receptive to what Spirit is saying to the churches? Churches represents our consciousness. Are we open and receptive to that divine guidance that is always available to us? Are we open to it? First, we have to be open to it. We have to hear that still small voice. To everyone who conquers, meaning everyone who has overcome some egoic chatter or overcome those things that block us from being all we can be, has created or developed a discipline in turning to truth instead of turning to worldly thoughts, fearful thoughts, anxious thoughts, those thoughts that we associate with negativity. Have we created a discipline? Have we conquered that? So to anyone who has conquered that and anyone who is open and receptive, there are 3 promises. First, we'll get hidden manna. Hidden manna is the bread of life. It's a nourishing quality. It's a nourishing aspect of Spirit, that we get our nourishment from Spirit. It's deep within us. The Israelites in the 40 days in the desert were given manna to eat. And they couldn't store it up. It's not something, divine guidance isn't something you can store up. You don't have a whole plan laid out in front of you. You have one step. You're given just what you need. One step at a time, one day at a time, we're given what we need. That hidden manna. Second, we get a white stone. Now the white stone comes from ancient times when a prisoner and a convicted person was released from prison. They were given a white stone representing a clean slate, a start over, a do-over. Get a do-over. Okay, you've served your time. Now let's start your life. Let's build your life from this point on. It comes from having a refreshing, pure consciousness. You get a white stone. You're ready to move on. And on that white stone is written a new name. This name comes from whatever is longing to come forth through you. Whatever quality, whatever you're longing. And it's never a urgent, loud, I have to do this, I should do that. It's always quiet. It's more of a longing. And nobody knows it except you. You can hear, only you can hear what your word is. Only you can have this intuitive knowing of what the word is for you and what it means. And you may get a word, but you're not quite sure why that word. But that if you're resonating with that word or that name, stick with it. It'll come. The meaning. So we get these 3 promises. So we do this in Unity as a way of setting an intention for the year. Now, it's a starting over, but in no way is it because we have failed or because we've been on the wrong track. It can feel that way sometimes whenever we say, well, we're starting over. It can feel like, well, we failed at something. We need to start over. That's not the case. People ask us why we moved to Colorado from Michigan. And sometimes I feel a little defensive when I hear that question. It's like, there's no big deep, dark secret as to why we left Michigan. Like, we were not running away from something. We didn't fail at something. We had a longing to have a different lifestyle. We had a longing to be closer to the mountains. And look how life has unfolded for us in ways that we never would have dreamed possible had we stayed in Michigan. So it's never because we failed that we start over. It's because we want to be all that we can be. We're invited to live life more abundantly, more fully, more freely, more passionately. So the word should be something that lights you up, something that you go, yeah, that's who I want to be this year. That's the way I want to be. So in a moment, we're going to do a guided meditation. And the meditation is designed to help you maybe hear that still small voice. And maybe you won't today. I invite you to continue to work with that if you don't get a word today. And know that just because we're setting an intention doesn't necessarily mean that's what we're going to experience this year. We have to move in that direction. Direction will trump intention all day long. So we set an intention, we have to move towards it. So if you get a name or a quality that you want to express, then I suggest if you get a first step, how are you going to move in that direction? Put that on the back of your stone. You know, all the elements of your life, sometimes our lives can be totally changed, and other times the elements of our life remain the same. But we're different because we're seeing differently. We're seeing with the eyes of God. We're centered on God. Ed Rabel is a Unity minister, and he has this beautiful quote that I want to share with you. Your real self is so far beyond and so much greater than anything you have ever thought, felt, or said about yourself that it takes an entirely new and pure state of consciousness for you to be able to even bear facing it. This is the white stone. And in that white stone of purified consciousness, you will for the first time come face to face with your new name, which means your new understanding of what you mean when you speak those words, I am. Because what you are and what you are learning to realize yourself as being is, I am the true and perfect and eternal image and likeness of my Father God. Can you bear facing how incredible you are? You're so much more. We are all so much more than we even realize. Can you allow yourself to be that? Whatever that is for you. And remember, this is just your word. You don't need anyone's approval. You don't need your husband or your wife or your partner or your mother to tell you it's okay to have that word on your stone. You don't need to go to Facebook or Instagram and ask your friends if it's okay. It's only for you. So the word is only for you, and what it means is only for you. Doesn't mean you can't share it, but claim it and own it. You deserve that. In this year of new decade, new beginnings, back to zero, allow yourself to be all you can be. So let's move into a time of meditation. I invite you to hold your stone in your hand. Close your eyes. Invite the activity of God into your heart and mind for the next few minutes and just listen. If we're asking the question, what is my name this year? Whenever we ask, there's already an answer. And so we invite Spirit to reveal a new name for you, a new intention of being to be written on your white stone. Perhaps there's a new career, a new title, or a new quality of spirit that is just longing to come out. I invite you to give your ego a few minutes time off. Let the divine holy self come through you. Give yourself permission to know that these innate qualities are longing to express. This white stone is a promise of a new life, the symbol of a clean slate. Whatever has gone on in the past, we stop letting it define us. We have the ability in this moment to live in this new beginning. This is the moment that we know we are free. Anytime you look at your white stone in the future, you have an opportunity to realize that you have the gift of choice, the gift to live differently, to live a more fulfilling life, to begin again, to connect with God. You are a creator. No one in the entire universe knows except you and God what your new name is. But it has come to you from that place deep within you to be lived out, to be expressed, to be embodied. It's what Spirit is calling you to do or to be. It's a whisper from your soul that you are so much more than you have ever let come into expression. As you're guided by Spirit, I invite you to trust in this now moment, in this moment of truth. Allow Spirit to reveal an insight into your divine purpose, an insight into your holy essence. Allow yourself to hear the new name that is longing to come forth. As that name becomes clearer, just allow yourself to write it. Know it's your sacred name and that your higher self is calling it forth. If a name has come to you, stay quiet and allow yourself to ask for a deeper understanding. To ask if there are any steps you can take in that direction. And if you have a first step, you can write that on the back of your stone. Not a whole plan of instructions, just a first step, a couple of words. How will you be the name? In this moment, allow yourself to simply open to Spirit. To say, God in me reveals my true essence. God in me reveals my next step. God as me lives a joyous, peaceful, fulfilling, abundant life. Behold, I make all things new, for you are my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. Claim your new name in your hearts now as you return your attention to this sanctuary, your stone, and write it on your stone. Keep it in a prominent place so you can be reminded throughout the year. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Accept this consciousness of ever increasing good in your life. I invite you to carry that stone as a reminder of that claim, of that goodness, of that greater life. Happy New Year.